Have you ever wondered what it really takes to get kicked off a morning TV show in broad daylight? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the explosive moment when Dame Helen Mirren, yes, the legendary Oscar-winning actress, reportedly stormed off Lorraine Kelly's ITV sofa after a clash that left viewers stunned and social media in absolute meltdown. The headline, "Helen Mirren kicked off Lorraine Kelly's show after heated clash," exploded across the internet, with clips circulating faster than you can say, "the Queen." In the first 30 seconds of this chaos, Lorraine barely had time to welcome her guest before things turned fairy. Helen, dressed in an elegant black outfit, smiled politely at first, but the moment certain questions were asked, her face changed. Sources say it all kicked off over comments about age, beauty standards, and Hollywood's treatment of older women. Lorraine apparently tried to keep it light and playful, but Helen was having none of it. Within moments, the atmosphere went from warm morning chat to ice-cold tension. The camera caught Helen putting her hand up, saying something inaudible, then standing up and walking straight off set while Lorraine looked completely gobsmacked. Crew members were reportedly scrambling, the audience was silent, and the internet immediately declared this the most iconic TV walkout since Grace Jones slapped Russell Hardy back in the 80s. But what really happened in those crucial seconds? And why did one of Britain's most beloved actresses lose her cool on live television? Let's set the scene properly. It was a typical Thursday morning on ITV's Lorraine show. Helen Mirren was booked to promote her latest project, a powerful documentary about ageism in the film industry. Everyone expected a classy, witty interview. After all, Helen has been doing press for decades and is known for her sharp intellect and dry humor. Lorraine opened with compliments, calling Helen timeless and on inspiration to women everywhere. So far, so normal. But then came the question that allegedly lit the fuse. Lorraine, smiling sweetly, asked whether Helen ever feels pressure to keep up appearances, or considers cosmetic procedures now that she's in her late 70s. On paper, it sounds like standard morning TV fluff, but according to eyewitnesses, the way it was phrased implied that Helen must be doing something drastic to look as good as she does. Helen apparently paused, raised an eyebrow, and replied coolly, "Are you asking if I've had work done?" Lorraine laughed it off and tried to move on, but Helen wasn't letting it slide. She launched into a passionate response about how exhausting it is that women over 60 are constantly reduced to their faces and bodies, while male actors are praised for aging naturally, without scrutiny. The studio audience started nodding. You could feel the temperature rising. Lorraine tried to interject with, "Oh, but you look amazing," which only poured petrol on the fire. Helen shot back that compliments about looks are part of the very problem she's fighting against. This is where things escalated fast. Helen reportedly said, and I quote from lip readers and leaked audio snippets, "I didn't come here to be told I look good for my age. I came here to talk about my work, not my wrinkles." The audience gasped. Lorraine, clearly flustered but trying to keep the show on track, made a joke about how she herself has embraced every line and loves a bit of Botox chat. That was the fatal mistake. Helen's expression turned to steel. She accused morning television of perpetuating the exact shallow narrative that keeps women silenced after a certain age. She pointed out that male guests are never asked if they dye their hair or use Viagra, yet female guests are grilled about fillers before they've even sat down. Lorraine tried to laugh again and said, "We're just having a bit of fun, Helen." To which Helen replied, "Well, I'm not here to be your fun." You could hear a pin drop. The director was allegedly yelling in ears to cut to commercial, but it was live TV. There was no escape. Helen then placed her teacup down with deliberate calm, stood up, removed her microphone pack, and said clearly into the live mic, "Thank you, but I think we're done here." She walked off set with the poise of royalty, leaving Lorraine open-mouthed and the crew in total panic. Backstage, all hell broke loose. Producers reportedly begged Helen to come back, explaining it was just light-hearted chat, but she was having none of it. Her publicist apparently told the team that Dame Helen felt disrespected and would not return. Meanwhile, in the studio, Lorraine had to fill dead air for almost 2 minutes, something unheard of on morning television. She eventually composed herself, apologized to viewers if anyone was offended, and moved on to the next segment about cleaning products as if nothing had happened. But the internet wasn't letting it die. Within minutes, Helen Mirren Walks Out was trending worldwide. Clips were shared millions of times, with captions like "Queen recognizes only Queen behavior," and "Helen Mirren just ended ageism in 4K." Support flooded in from women across generations. Celebrities like Jamila Jamil, Viola Davis, and even Sir Ian McKellen tweeted in solidarity. Meanwhile, some tabloids tried to paint Helen as difficult or oversensitive, but the public wasn't buying it. Polls showed over 80% siding with Helen, saying morning shows need to stop treating female icons like beauty pageant contestants. By lunchtime, both Helen and Lorraine had released statements. Helen's was classy and firm. "I have nothing but respect for Lorraine Kelly, but we must move beyond reducing women to their appearance. I chose to leave rather than participate in a conversation that undermines decades of work." Lorraine's statement was apologetic but defensive. "I'm gutted if I upset Helen. It was never my intention. We all adore her and hope she'll come back one day." ITV refused to release the full unedited footage, claiming "gist confidentiality," which only fueled conspiracy theories that the clash was even worse than what aired. Fans started digging up old interviews where Lorraine had asked similar questions to Sharon Osbourne, Gillian Anderson, and Jane Fonda, all of whom laughed it off or played along. The difference: Helen Mirren simply refused to play the game. And that refusal turned her into an instant hero for women tired of being told to age gracefully, while men are allowed to just exist. The fallout continued for days. Lorraine's show saw a dip in ratings as some viewers boycotted in support of Helen, while others tuned in hoping for more drama. Helen, meanwhile, gave a calm, powerful interview to The Guardian where she elaborated that walking out wasn't planned. She simply reached a point where silence felt like complicity. She said, "I've smiled through these questions for 40 years. Yesterday I decided I didn't have to anymore." The moment was compared to Serena Williams calling out sexism at the US Open or Taylor Swift refusing to stay quiet about politics. Younger celebrities like Florence Pugh and Zendaya called it the most badass thing they'd ever seen. Merchandise appeared overnight, mugs saying, "What would Helen Mirren do?" and T-shirts with, "I'm not here to be your fun." Even the Prime Minister was asked about it during a press conference and awkwardly praised both women as national treasures. So where does this leave us? Helen Mirren didn't just walk off a TV show. She drew a line in the sand for every woman who's ever been asked about her diet instead of her Oscar, her skirt length instead of her directing debut. Lorraine Kelly, a presenter who's interviewed everyone from Beyoncé to Brexit ministers, learned the hard way that not every guest will grin and bear the same old script. The clash exposed the quiet sexism baked into harmless morning TV chat, and Helen's exit forced a conversation the industry can no longer dodge. Will Lorraine change her approach? Will other older actresses now feel empowered to shut down shallow questions? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: you do not mess with Dame Helen Mirren. She didn't need a crown to remind everyone she's royalty. She just needed 4 minutes and a perfectly timed walkout. And honestly, we're all here for it.